Alrighty, welcome to part two of, uh, I don't know what I want to call this. I think I'm going to call this the Foley Dreadnaught Project. Is probably a good name for it. Again, and if you missed last episode, I'm gonna 3D. I'm working on 3D modeling the USS Stuart Foley, which is NCC 1974. And this is for Mr. Stuart Foley, or some people know him as Captain Stuart Foley. He hosts Trek Yards and Captain's Log on YouTube, and he's got a gazillion models of Star Trek stuff and some Star Wars stuff and some other sci-fi stuff that's kind of neat. And he also has hosts. He knows some of the people that are making Axanar, and he's hosted celebrities and or graphic artists and or people that have basically worked on all kinds of Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, The Next Generation, the original series. And I think he's met. I think it's Matt Drexler, or anyway, Mr. Drexler, and he's met some people that I would just be very honored to meet. One of the people I've always wanted to meet was also the I wanted to meet the guy. God, I can't even think of his name right now. I used to know his name right off the top of my lips. The guy that modeled the Firefox and the X-Wing fighters and stuff like that. I'll think of his name. Dykstra. John Dykstra. I would love to meet John Dykstra. I've even tried to email him a few times or contact him, and he's pretty busy, and I also think he gets a little tired of getting bugged all the time. I think a lot of people bug him. They all want to meet him and talk to him and stuff. Of course, I do a little bit because I'm into the modeling thing. I've scratch-built models since I was a kid. Let's select this while I'm BSing here. Let's go to edit mode. And let's go to Z. Let's push C. And we were working on this. I could probably continue to work on the top here. Is probably one thing I could do. And let's go to 7. Let's go to Z again. Okay. I think what I'm going to work on is, let's go to object mode. Deselect with A. Select the picture. Let's grab it on the X. Let's bring it back out. Let's work on these front. Let's work on these front hangar bay. Okay. Let's work on these front hangar bay things. Okay, again. And I had already done this once, but object. Let's see, edit. What I had done, Z. Okay, I had grabbed. Let's box these in. And let's extrude them to the X, and let's bring them out right there. And I'm doing this more for reference. And again, this hull's going to be just a tad bigger than the side profile, and or I think the top profile, which isn't too much of a problem. The side bugs me a little bit, but this matches the front. We actually push the Z where this is gray, and we push the 3. Okay. Control 3, let's see. Let's go to 7 again. No, that's fat. We're seeing the back. Why are we seeing the back? Let's push C. Let's take a box. Let's delete this for the moment since we're not Let's delete that end off since we're not really drawing on that at the moment. And oh, I know why, because I'm drawing this backwards. Or not. Let me explain this. I'm not really drawing it backwards. It's just that, like when you model an aircraft, you tend. I'm modeling this to the picture, and the picture is drawn with the front of this ship pointing to the left and the rear pointing to the back. And actually in Blender, your front, in a sense, your x-axis to the right is actually your front. So it's not really a big deal, but I'm so used to drawing things the other direction. So what I need to do is I'm going to hit Z. I could reverse all this, but I'm not going to worry about reversing all this. I'm going to hit Z, and I'm going to hit Control 3. I actually push the Control, then the 3 on the number pad. When I use numbers, I'm usually talking about the and Z. Now the problem with that is that now the picture's in the way, so let's hit 7. Let's go to Object Mode, Z. Let's go to Object Mode. Let's deselect this. Let's grab this picture. And let's grab it to the X. And let's bring it back here. Okay, now, we'll select this again. Now if I hit Control 3, there we go. Now we can actually see the front of our secondary hull. I think I said primary last time. But that's actually the front of our secondary hull, and now it's pointing to the front part of the ship, 7. So, because what we were doing before is actually, like I said, in Blender, we kind of have the ship backwards. We should have the front of the ship pointing the other direction, and we have it pointing backwards in Blender, but that looks like it ain't a big deal. I know how to work around it, so it's not a big problem. Okay. So now, what I want to do is, I was actually wanting to shape the bottom of this hull is what I was kind of wanting to do. So to shape the bottom of the hull, we need to actually, okay, what I want to do, I'll grab this as an object. We'll go into Edit Mode. We'll push Z. Okay. Now I got two options here. Like I said, I could either make this hull really big. Like I said, I really hate to lose size on it unless it's just making it grossly unproportionate. So I can either scale it a little bit bigger, and or I could scale it to the side. And we're already adding a little bit of, we already added a little bit of height because of the front. But I like the way the front profile looks, so and actually, if you look in the side profile, the secondary hull and the bulge coming down with the phaser, if you actually go from the bottom of the phaser is actually lined up almost with the top of that hangar door. And if you look in the front profile, they kind of have it. It's a little bit high. It's a little bit high. So again, we could actually, when we draw this, we're going to actually play with that a little bit. We'll see, because I think we're going to run into issues with the saucer, which is called the primary hull. The saucer section, I think, is not going to line up exactly with these pictures either. So we'll have to play around with that a little bit, I'm thinking. So what I was saying is I could do one of two things here. I have to either scale this to the side picture, or I have to leave it alone. And if I leave it alone, what I need to do I'm either going to have to raise this up a little bit, or I'm going to have to play around with it here a little bit. I think one of the things I could do is I could actually box this. Let's try this. Let's box this whole thing in here, and let's grab it on the Z. Let's bring it up a little bit, like right there. And that more or less, now let's look at it from the front, which is actually control that. Okay, let's Z it in. Now see, if you noticed, what I did was by shaping that, it took some off the bottom, and by taking it off the bottom, it also distorted the shape. So I want to box this from the front. I want to scale it to the Y and fatten it out a little bit. So I think I have another solution to kind of compromise on this. I think if we actually, let's box these again, scale to the Y, bring them in just a hair. Let's go down, get the next row, scale to the Y, bring it in just a little bit. Scale to the Y, bring it out just a hair. Now you got to remember, every time that you change something, especially as big as I just changed everything, it's probably going to scale to the Y. It's going to throw off quite a few lines. I might have to go back from the top and box, scale to the Y, fatten that out. Box, scale to the Y. Okay. Now remember, the front of this, you see in the dish in the front intersect with those lines in the back, but that's the back of the ship. So the front, we still have plenty of area on the front of this. And what I was saying is actually, if we actually go to object mode, and we deselect, grab this picture, grab it to the Z just a hair. We'll just compromise just a little bit there. Edit mode. Okay, Z. Now what we need to do too is, because we kind of made this one straight, we need to scale it to the Y, taper it just a little bit. There, that looks a little smoother. Okay. Now let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at it from the side. Side's not a problem. Top. I don't think it messed it up too much. I think it still fairly looks There you go. Let's go Z and see what we see. And again, like I said, we'd have to shift this back and forth, shift this back and forth. I think we're pretty good there. Okay. And what I want to do, go back here. And one of the things I can do, I can stay inside profile here. And I can just scroll down and kind of take a gander here. And I think what they did on here, from what I can tell, is if we actually, let's take this box S, let's delete it. Okay, what I want to do now is save it right now. Oh, let's see, save as. We're going to change this to a 2. This one on the end to a 2. Because this is the second major thing. Okay, now what I want to do here is I actually want to grab a box. Okay. We're going to extrude to the X. Show you a little trick here. Okay. Now, if I grab my mouse wheel and I actually come at an angle, see, and I can also push Z, can come at an angle, then I can scale. And I can bring it in here. If I go to the 1, same thing, and I can go to Z2, Z. Okay, I'm going to scale. Okay, now by scaling it this way, what I just did is if you look, it's easy. I just brought the shape basically out. But what it also did was it also kind of distorted it because it scaled it from the center both directions, but we don't want to do that. So we hit A to deselect it, and then we can box, okay, and we can grab that to the Z, come straight up till those lines basically are parallel, and you can tell because you can see the little steps in them. They start to distort. A. And then let's scale to the Y and bring that in a little bit. About like that. Okay, so from the side, then you could actually, if you really wanted to, you don't have to, but you could actually, because you'd have to play along with the whole lines. So on the newer Star Trek, like the refit, you had a lot of shapes like this where they curved stuff. If you notice on this one, if we actually hit the Z, it looks like they kind of stair-stepped it up, or like I'll show you kind of what I'm getting at here. So what we can do here is we can actually go to line mode, and we can start selecting these lines. Actually, we can go to Z. I'll put it in Z so you can see what I'm talking about here. Okay, now if I hold shift, I can just grab all of these lines, and you make sure you don't grab none of this ships on the lines on the main body here. I got all these lines, and I push delete, and I click edges, and see, I got my line there. If I go back to vertice mode, go to 1, I got my lines there, but I don't have okay, now what I want to do, we'll grab this one, the box here from the top, grab it to the Z, bring it straight down. Whoopsie. Oh, that's because we're in gray mode. Dang it, I hate it when I do that. Okay. Let's come back down here. Actually, let's hit Control Z. There we go. A. Okay, let's hit Z, and then that way we're in transparent mode. That way I have both of those now. Okay, I want to back out a little bit. Okay, what I want to do now is grab to the Z, bring it down to about right there where you see this little, it looks like they have a subsection in here. Okay, I can come here, Control 3, Z. Okay, I think what I want to do, yeah, actually I think that's good enough. That's pretty close. That's what I'm wanting to do. So what I'm wanting to do here is go 1. We're going to take a box. We're going to grab this whole thing. And again, you can do this from an angle. Whoopsie. I'm glad I looked at that. Make a Z. Box it. Grab this whole line again. Look at an angle. Okay, I got the whole thing. Go back to Z. Okay, now what I want to do now is hit the E for extrude, the S for scale, and we're going to go out just a smidgen there. Then we're going to look at it from the front. And again, what we need to do is box this one, and grab them to the Z, bring them up just a hair till we see that they're level, and then scale them to the Y to bring them in just a tad. Oops, went out the wrong way. And we're kind of eyeballing it right about there. Okay, now what I did was from the side just have this lip. From the front, I actually made it a big lip. And I think, like in the original Star Trek, like I was talking about, like on the Enterprise, one of the things they did where they had the main deflector dish coming out, is they had this big circle of rings around it that were just like about 4 lips and stuff. On this ship, what it looks like they're doing is they're starting to go into the compromise where they have what it looks to me. What it looks to me like what they're doing is that they have a little area that's kind of split out from the hull, and then they have the area above it that sticks out, which is the and on here it looks like it's right up to the bottom of it, so we might actually just and here it looks like it's not. It looks like it has the tiniest bit of separation, but from the front it looks like it's right underneath it. So again, now I have to come down to either artistic license, or I have to wait and Mr. Foley can say, hey, I want it like this, or if he don't care, then that's fine. We'll see if I'll draw it, and like I said, if you see something that you prefer this way or that way, Mr. Stewart, just give me a say, hey, I'd rather have I'd rather have a split there, or I think actually what's cool about if you do put a split in here, box this, grab it to the Z just a hair. Like if I put this extra edge in here, whoopsie, forgot to go to Z, box it, grab it, okay. I think if we put this extra little lip in here, one thing that's kind of cool on a model is it adds detail. It adds detail that, you know, the more detail you can throw on some of these, in some ways, in short, the more complicated you can make this to a point, the more realistic it's going to look, or more engineered it'll look, so on and so forth. Which is, yeah, not a bad thing. It's kind of cool to have it look more realistic than just taking the cheap way out. So we'll go there. Okay, now what I want to do, hit Z, box this in, and it looks to me like what they're doing is we're going to extrude to the X. We're going to go back a little bit, right there, and we're going to go A, and then actually we could have just kept it there probably. Okay, so let's make this a little bigger so I can see what I'm doing. Again, we're going to extrude to the X. No. Yes. Okay, this is going to be a little bit tricky, but I'll show you how I'm going to do this. So extrude to the X. So I'm going to bring it about halfway. Whoopsie. Now I got to push grab because there's already two sets of vertices there. So grab to the X. And let's just go about there. Let's push A. And actually, we're going to we're going to grab these bottom ones here, and we're going to grab them to the Z. We're going to bring them down. To right about there. We're going to go Z. We're going to look from the front, Control 3. Okay. And again, I have two different options here. I could either scale this whole thing out, which actually I think, let's go back to 1. I think if I scale this whole thing out, it will give it more dimension. So I'll go Control Z, I'll go Z. So what I want to do is push A. Okay, I want to box this whole thing, and then I want to scale it. Scale. And we're going to drag it out until we have our, right there. We're going to go Control 3. There we go. Okay, Control 3. Z. Okay, now again, what you notice, what we just did is we widened this whole thing out around here, which is fine, but we're not done yet with this. So what we got to do is we got to push A. Okay. We got to grab these two here in the back, and we need to grab these two here in the back here, can go on either side, it doesn't matter, because we got all 4 of them selected. So what we're going to do now is we're going to grab them to the Z, and we're going to bring them down until, guess what? Actually, we're going to push Z. Whoa, didn't push Z, I pushed Windows. Okay, let's try this again. Hit Z, and so let's push A. There we go. Z. Okay. Let's box. We want these 2. And then let's come over to this side. Lay down. Box. Let's grab these 2. Okay. Now what I want to do is grab this Z, and then we're going to bring it down until all of those lines are lined up again. Okay. And we got them all pretty much level. And like a little trick I showed you in one of the other videos, we can actually grab all those. And whoopsie, we need to deselect first. Okay. Because I got the other side, we want to grab all those. Push S, and then push Z, and then 0. Makes it perfectly flat. Let's go to the other side here. Sorry. Okay, let's box this one. And if you're not sure, you can hit A, hit A, hit A again. That way you know everything's deselected. Box these. S, Z, 0, and the 0 this time's not on the keypad, it's on the top. Okay. Okay, let's go back. Let's push Z. Let's go to the 1. Okay, and now we're just about done here with what I'm wanting to do. Okay, we're going to hit Z again. We're going to hit box. We're going to box in this line that we just made, and we flattened it out. Okay, now, like I said, in the new Star Trek, they had a lot of tapers. In the old Star Trek, they didn't have a lot of tapers. I do remember the very part of the hull in the old Enterprise did taper up at the very front of this part of the hull, but these rings were all flat. So what we're going to, I think, try to go with the original series as much as possible and not try to get too modern with it, because this is not a refit ship. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to scroll in all the way in here, pretty close, and then we're going to grab this line and we're going to grab it on the X, and we're actually going to line it back up with this line here. Let's go all the way down to the microscopic nitty-gritty here. Okay, that's about as good as it gets. Let's grab it on the X. Let's bring it back until that yellow line and black line are like that. Kind of a whitish yellow. Okay. Now, what I did was I made that little corner on the bottom there, and it actually kind of works away. Now what I can do is push E for extrude again, and X, and I can bring these in here. And I could actually, since this is a model, I could bring it in just a little bit past there. Okay, now if I hit Z, and if I hit, okay, what's wrong here? Let's go to object mode, see what it looks like. And deselect A. Okay, so if you notice, we have kind of a double lip shape there. And now we have an option to doing several different things in here. But if you see, it kind of looks like it's supposed to look like from the let's go double side. There we go. or we can turn double side off and leave it dark for the moment. But what that's going to do is, and we're going to put some more edges and faces on this actually. I can't tell if there's a face there. I think it should be there. Let's see, edit mode. Oh yeah, there's a face there. Okay, I didn't think there was a face there, but there is a face there. So, and we actually have the other one intersecting with the ship, and I never drew it as a separate object, so this is all connected to that as an object. But one of the things we can do, because you're not going to see this a lot either, is let's save it. Since we just did a lot, I'll save it under the 2. You notice I probably save a lot, which, okay, so if we go to edge mode, and we select this lip, and this lip, whoopsie, Control Z, didn't want that lip. I actually want this little lip right here, which I'm not sure, let's see. Hold down Shift. Yeah, I didn't think it was. Oh, except for that's all the way across there. So that might be a problem. Okay. How do we make it not a problem? Let's delete this one. Okay. And let's click this one. Except for that's going to delete that. So we can either make this a double face, because it's not going to change the vertices any. But I can just leave that in there, I think. Okay, Shift. Let's deselect it, see what it does. Let's go Shift. Oh yeah, it is a double line there. Okay. And then let's come, whoopsie, actually we need to deselect those. We need to come over here. Okay, let's deselect. I guess that wouldn't matter either. Let's delete that. Let's delete this. No, we can't delete that because if we delete that, yeah, let's try it. Delete. Oh yeah, okay. That way we get rid of a bunch of unwanted vertices here. Okay, so on this, what I can do actually, deselect it. What I can actually do is hit, I think, push Alt. No, that didn't work. Oh, I know why it didn't work. Okay, didn't work because if we go to our other side here, it's looped, and that's why it picked the inside and the outside, but I just want the outside. So if I actually pick this one and delete it, because we actually have some double vertices here too, and I don't want the double verts if we can avoid them, and we're going to check it, do a vert check here pretty soon. So if I delete this, okay, now if I hit this, Alt, oh no, it's still connected somewhere. Oh, I know why it's connected. It's connected because it's A. Okay, let's grab this, delete. So actually, what I need to do, we need to delete this one. And okay, now if you notice, we can either delete this by edges, or we could actually do it by faces. Faces would actually probably be easier. Let's go to face mode, and let's delete Except for part of the problem with the face mode is I think the faces are overlapped too. So I think I'd rather do it with lines than faces. Yeah, let's try faces. So I think if I take these faces, sometimes you can do multiple things, and that's fine. And then sometimes when you do multiple things, all you do is kind of step on your own toes. Which you don't want to do. Okay, let's try this. Let's go delete faces. Okay. Now let's try that edge. Let's go to edges. Let's go Alt. Okay, there we go. Delete. Okay, so now see the problem with what we just did is that it did delete that edge, but it left all of the other little edges that are sticking up. So again, what I need to do is go back to faces, and I can go shift face, face. Make sure you're on the right row. If you delete the wrong face, you're gonna have a hole in the model, and we don't want no hole in the model. Angle this around. You get used to this. You hold the control and the shift and roll the mouse wheel and angle the mouse, and after a while you can just get to where you can get pretty good at okay, delete faces. You can get to where you can get pretty good at some of this. Okay, we want that outside face. So again, now we have an inner ring of faces here, so we want to select this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. And I could actually show you, we have one or two options. We could actually leave this run into the ship, or we could actually mate up the outer lines here and say delete faces. And it's kind of showing you this through that face, those other faces inside there, but they're actually, if you zoom in, they're actually inside of the ship. So like I said, you could either leave that. Sometimes there's an advantage to doing that, and then where we could have lined this up, but we would have to delete this whole face to line all those up, because we could line that line with the other lines and actually make a whole bunch of little faces. There's pros and cons to both of them, and we'll see how this looks. If it don't look right, then we'll do that later. We'll actually, let's go to line mode. So we got a few straight lines here. There's actually advantages sometimes to edge. There's actually advantages sometimes to making everything run face together, and then there's other things that I've seen where it was advantageous to actually run, like I could make a wing on an airplane and then run the wing into the body and have it be like a childed object. Delete edge, and it ended up being, it looked good on the model, but then there's other things where sometimes it makes a problem with shadows and stuff. Okay, this is what I was wanting to do now. If we actually go to line, select that line, and let's see, why do I have an extra? I shouldn't have an extra line there. Let's deselect. Let's go this line, delete. And it only seems to be on the top there. I don't seem to be anywhere else, just on these ones. Okay, let's get rid of this line. Let's get rid of this line. Okay, now let's select this line. Shift this line and this line. Let's put a face in there. Click A. Okay, let's come to the other side over here. And that's why sometimes drawing objects can be very time consuming, just because of little stuff like this. You get extra lines and dots and stuff. And it can really be a big pain in the butt sometimes. Okay, let's go to Z. Let's select this. Let's go delete that edge. Let's delete that edge. Let's delete this edge. Okay. Let's go back to Z. Let's click this edge, and see you could literally, actually, you could just click these two faces here, and it would put a face in there and make your edges. But I like grabbing three. Okay, A. Okay, now, like I said, if I actually click double side, it looks more normal actually. So you have that as an option, like you could click this double side or leave it off, so if you want to see a darker gray and stuff like that. And there's coloring things, but I'm not going to go into that right now. Okay, let's click on this edge, this edge, this edge, and this edge. And I'll see if this works. If it don't work, we're going to literally have to put in separate faces, which is, like I said, actually that ain't a problem because it's not going to change your vertices. It would work just as fine. Let's see if this works actually. I want to put a face across here. Push F. Oh, and it worked. Push A. Okay. Now if you see what I have here is I have this lip, and I should have, I don't know, I might have should have left it in. If I wanted to actually keep that, if I wanted to place the sensor array and all that stuff like inset, and actually I could do that too. There's another way I could do that. I have two options here. Option one would be to put a face all the way around this. And option two would be to I can just actually put a flat face in this, and this flat face would look like this, but have our little extruded shape. Or like on the original series on the Enterprise, it actually had an inset area. So I could actually inset this area. And for grins, I think what I'm going to do is actually inset this area. And to do that, what I need to do is I need to put a loop cut right here. No. Yeah. see, let's grab this one. And this one. Let's go to our Control 3 view. And let's actually go extrude to the Z. And then we're going to bring this down just about the width of that front lip there, which is about there. We're going to go scale Y. And then we're going to get down to the microscopic nitty-gritty here. Okay, scale Y a little bit more, right on that line. And now, as you can see, and those actually aren't connected. So again, what we can do to connect those is we can go into our line mode, select this line. Oh, did it connect it? No, it's hiding it. Okay. So Control 3. Actually, we can do it from an angle. That's fine. If we delete this, you notice we just lost that whole face. Okay, so how we get that face back is we select this line, shift this line, and then this line, because it's a whoops, I forgot to hold shift. This line, this line, this line, and this line. Push F. And then we get our face back, except for what we just did is we connected those lines in that vertex into that object because it was separated, but now it's not separated. So we need to come over here and do the same thing with this one. We're going to select this line. We're going to delete, and we just lost the face. But if we select this line, this line, this line, and this line, push F. Okay, so now we just connected that vertex into that line and those lines together. So, okay, now what I want to do before I go any further on this is we're going to push Z. We're going to go to vertex mode, and we're going to box this whole thing in like this. Okay. Then we're going to push our T, and we're going to make sure we're in Tools. We're going to scroll all the way down, and we're going to come down to the bottom. Near the bottom, it says Remove Doubles, and we're going to click on that. And it said Remove 0 verticals. So I actually am getting better at drawing. I didn't have no verticals. Okay, let's push A. Let's push Z again. That's cool. I didn't have no double verticals, but that's one of the ways you can do that. And if you actually have double verticals, it'll get rid of them, which usually isn't a problem, but sometimes it's a problem because when you get rid of double verticals, sometimes it makes a problem. Let's look at this in object mode right quick at an angle. And let's turn off the doubles. Like I said, sometimes leaving the doubles off, it'll make some things darker, but then sometimes it's a problem with the shading. You definitely want to have your double sides clicked when you go to like rendering this, or if you you'll notice you start connecting things here, there, and yonder. Like I said, there's basically the two methods. You can extrude things out from the surface and connect it in the surface, or sometimes it's just easier to draw a separate object and connect it to it and run it into the body, because this don't look bad at all. So far I'm pleased with it. It looks okay. And like I said, I could put a face on that, which actually would be real easy. I probably should have saved two different versions of it. So this is where it'd be advantageous if I come up here and I go save as, and I have it saved as A. If I actually make this little A a B, okay, so if I save it again, and I go back, I make this little A, this little B and A again. Okay, so I have the two files of this saved now. I have the A and the B file. So if I decided I want to go back and I want to put a face into this, I can just put a face into it on B. But if I want to use the lip version, or we'll see, like if Mr. Foley has a preference, yeah, I like the lip, or no, I don't like the lip, I just want the face, or whatever, then I wouldn't have to do a lot of work. I can just go back into this section and fix it right up. Because I think basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this, I actually think this is the primary hole and the saucer section is the secondary, but I might be wrong. It might be the other way around. But anyway, if I draw these parts, if I draw the saucer separate and the engine separate and have all this, then I can have a file where I have them all connected together. But if I have them all as separate objects, then if I needed to work on one object, I could totally edit one object and then actually just change it out with the other piece on the ship. If I keep these all as like if I have a main parent object and a bunch of children objects, it would be real easy to just change the parts and pieces out. Okay, so now what I want to do here, and we'll get back to an end. I know I get kind of long-winded. Select this as an object. Let's go to Edit again. Edit. We're in vertice mode. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to actually select, and I'm going to use the boxing method. Or the other thing I could do, actually, push A. If I actually went to line mode, and I think I push Alt on this line, let's see, yes, it worked. See there, I got that whole inner line, which was what I was wanting to do. And then if I go to vertice mode, if I just click over vertice mode, I still have all those lines selected. So, again, we come back to an option. I can push my 1, my Z. You see I have that inner line selected, so what I can do with that is I can extrude it to the X, and I can run it straight back, and I can have those lines either be exactly straight, and I could actually bring it a long distance. Oh, I didn't like that. I right-clicked because I had went beyond the screen. What I was starting to get at is I could put it a little ways into the hole, or I could actually put it quite a ways back into the hole. So we'll do this again. Grab it on the X. See, I could bring this a little ways in here, which would be fine. Actually, I wouldn't. But I'm saying if you had to work on a model where you had to have you wanted a very thin taper, you could actually bring it back a long ways and then just taper it. But you can do the same thing by just bringing it in just a little ways and then scaling it a hair. So let's push Z. And as you see, now I have that inner lip. I made this basically a big domed area. And one of the other things I could also do is I can push grab to the X. I could actually bring that outside of the front of the hole. And since it's going straight, except for the problem is doing it that way, you could do it that way, and you could actually put a face here, and then you could just grab it again and drag it into the hole. And by doing well, even actually if you put a face here, it would hide everything anyway. So if you wanted to bring it in part way, like let's bring it into about there. Let's look at it from the side, and let's press Z. So actually that's just barely in there. Let's grab it to the X. So let's bring it in almost to the hole, but not quite. Let's press Z. So what I'm saying is if I put a face in there, it would make it look like this piece is a special made piece. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. Recognize back out of it. Let's hit F and A, and let's go into object mode. Now it's kind of hard to see, but the face in that little dome section actually sticks out further than the hull, instead of having the front part of the hull be that face on that thing. We actually put it out a little bit. And then the other option we have is we could actually grab these dots again. Let's go to edit mode. We could grab these dots, these vertices around on the inner lip here, and we could scale this. And if we scale it, it's going to put a taper in it, which, like I said, to me it seems that if I tapered it, the taper would be reminiscent of like the refit, like the Enterprise-A, or the Enterprise, the first NC 1701 refit. They would have a taper in there because they actually got rid of the deflector dish. They didn't get rid of it. They got rid of the classic 1950s, 1940s, 1960s radar looking dish like this has. They had got rid of that, and then they had come up more or less with just a curved dish being your deflector dish without the little rod out there with the like this one. That looks like a typical radar looking dish from the 50s sci-fi, or even from the military back in the 40s and 50s. They had radar dishes that looked real similar to that, and then in Star Trek they used that in the original series, and it was supposed to be your deflector dish. They actually put out your shields, your deflector shields, so that you wouldn't run into space debris and asteroids and rocks and stuff like that, especially going past the speed of light, because that would be a bad thing for a ship. In a Enterprise, they had a deflector dish, but they also polarized the hull. They didn't really have deflector shields per se as to use like against enemy weapons and stuff like that. So I think I'll go this direction with this, like I said, unless Mr. Foley, if he has a personal opinion on it, if you kind of look at the front of this, it doesn't really look like they have lips in there, so it looks like they just kind of have a flat surface, but it's just a basic drawing. So I'll see what Stuart thinks about this, if he likes this approach, because I think we could also, we draw this radar dish and we put it in here. We can put little bit of reinforcement buffer things around it, and then it looks like they have two smaller dishes, but you can see them from the front, but you can't really see them from the sides. So that's another thing where I think it would be advantageous to have this in a lip, because if you had a face on here and you didn't have that lip, you could definitely see those little deflector dishes sticking out from the side there. So tell me what you think, Stuart. And I think we'll go to object mode and deselect, and we will save this. Actually, we just saved it as A and B, and we didn't really do anything else to it, I don't think, but we'll save it again just to make sure. Save as, save it in A, file, save as, and we'll also save that right there in B. And we will see you in the next YouTube installment of drawing the Dreadnaught Foley Dreadnaught project. Thank you for watching.